Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for watching this special edition of 10 News on WBIR+. Robin Wilhoit alongside Chief Meteorologist Todd Howe. It has been a very active weather day. Meteorologist actually with the National Weather Service, Todd, they confirmed a tornado touchdown this morning near Sweetwater. An EF-0 tornado, right, Todd?
An EF-0. Now, that's the lowest category on the enhanced Fujita scale. An EF-0, max winds of 85 miles per hour, and only on the ground the length for 2 miles, and the path width was 200 yards. So a lot of the structures were to barns as far as the damage. There was a trailer, a camper, that was overturned. As you see right there, Robin, the 5 injured after that EF-0 tornado. Technically, it was 4 miles just to the northwest of Sweetwater, just inside Loudoun County.
That's right. You mentioned the 5 people injured. 4 of them were actually in a camper when that camper turned over. Another person was in another camper. This was at a different location. The National Weather Service says that camper also rolled over. Trees, power lines, they are down, and there is damage on several other properties. So definitely leaving its mark. That EF-0 tornado touchdown just after 8:30 this morning. As far as the area we're talking about in the Luttrell area, this is about where, Todd, would you say?
In Luttrell, not in Union County. A lot of us know Luttrell, Union County, but this is just inside the Loudoun County line from Monroe County. So here's Monroe County, here's Loudoun County, and again, Sweetwater just to the south there. So this is very near Luttrell. Again, it's just inside the Loudoun County line. It's approximately 4 miles to the northwest of Sweetwater, so that's just inside that Loudoun County line. There was a little bit more damage also just down from there that carried over into parts of Monroe County, again near and just north of Sweetwater. But Robin and everyone, this was a very brief, fast spin up. As quickly as it spun up, then it kind of decelerated and moved on out. But it's kind of the nature of weather and the atmosphere. It's a humble reminder how quickly things can spin up. So sometimes that's the nature of tornadoes. They can quickly spin up and then cycle right back down. But they can do the power of tornadoes. They can do that localized damage.
And very quickly, very quickly. We kept hearing earlier today a lot about Holt Road, which is right in that vicinity. And of course, that was an area that a lot of the damage was sustained. Okay, a tornado warning. It was not issued before that storm hit. Now, we did ask the warning coordination meteorologist with the National Weather Service about the circumstance. He said meteorologists were watching some weak rotation on the radar, but it was, in his words, Todd, a sneaky storm. He says that it was not a typical supercell thunderstorm. The Weather Service did issue a tornado warning as the storm moved east into Blount County. That same meteorologist says that because of the damage reported and what they saw in the aftermath, they were able to confirm it was a tornado.
This storm did not have a tornado warning on it. It wasn't a typical storm that you normally would say, oh yeah, there's some tight rotation. This is a huge supercell thunderstorm. This was nothing like that. So it was kind of a sneaky storm, if you will. It's not something that we miss all the time. It just was one of those things that actually hit some structures and a lot of trees.
So, Todd, a sneaky storm. You were just mentioning that these things can pop up.
Yeah, it's the humble nature in the atmosphere of these tornadoes. They can briefly spin up. Air and water are very much alike. If you take your hand through water and you notice in the wake of that, you can see little eddies, right? Little spin ups.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, air behaves the same way. Well, when you have these downward rushing winds from a strong to isolated severe storm, that's what it was originally. As those winds came rushing down, just like water, you can have a quick spin up. And within that spin up, that's where you have that localized damage and wind threat. It wasn't on the ground long. 2 miles, and again, we'll go ahead and show you the details here. It was basically 2 miles, 200 yards. And Robin, you said right along a Holt Road and another path on New Hope Road. So it wasn't that long lasting. It was very quick, 85 mile per hour max winds, and EF-0, that's the lowest rating on the enhanced Fujita scale. And so that's some of that information you just see, as Robin talked about, the injuries that happened, 4 of those within that one camper and trailer that were rolled by the winds, and that other one in another type of trailer camper. Total of 5 injuries. We certainly hope, pray that they're okay. But here are the details. Again, there's the EF-0, max wind 85, path length 2 miles, and the path width, about 200 yards. So a very low end, kind of what we'd say a weaker low end tornado, but it did have enough max winds to do that damage. As Anthony Cavalucci said with the National Weather Service in Morristown, they do a wonderful job.
They do.
They do a great job. It was a sneaky storm because it popped up real quick. And when we're looking at Doppler radar, Robin and everyone, we're basically looking at velocities, and we're looking for couplets, gate-to-gate wind shear. And that couplet, that gate-to-gate shear, was not there very long. It was only there for a couple of scans. And so, it's like anything, right? There's a little bit of human nature involved too. Hindsight, oh yeah, maybe that one quick scan that showed, maybe would have preferred a warning, but obviously that's all in hindsight. But it was not a classic supercell, as Anthony said. It was not like, oh wow, this is like, we talked about the Kentucky tornado that impacted Somerset Line. Right, that was clear. That had all the parameters with it. This was not that same way. So again, this is the nature of the atmosphere and weather, that sometimes air like water, you can have these quick little spin ups that can do some localized damage.
Yeah. This is the time of year. This happens for sure.
Exactly.
All right, with that, we want to turn to Cassie Nall, meteorologist Cassie Nall. She is out in the midst of this area near Sweetwater. Cassie, have you been able to put your eyeballs on the damage?
I have, and when you come down the road, it's clear when you get to the spot where the tornado was. First, you encounter a large barn that's kind of been thrown all over the place, and then you keep going and you notice the grass has been laid down. That's one of the first things I noticed, was how some of the tall grasses are just kind of flattened. You start noticing the tree branches that are broken, the trees that are then uprooted, and then what you see in the distance right now is some of the structures that were damaged, including the camper that was rolled down at the base of this hill where 4 folks were injured from being in that camper. You can also see another barn that was destroyed, a roof that's kind of off in a tree in the distance there. And then the twister continued off toward the distance and eventually lifted off the ground. Now, that storm ended up damaging 5 buildings total, destroyed 4 of them at the Grain Barn Commodities. There's a bakery near Sweetwater also that was damaged, and we spoke to the owner, Craig Brackett, earlier today. He told us that the pavilion where they hold special events was destroyed. I believe that's actually kind of close to where we're standing right now. And the roofs were torn off of 2 of their Airbnbs, and the biggest damage was actually to that camper that I was talking about that was rolled over. Brackett says 4 people were inside that camper that are now at the hospital at this point. He says those people were in town visiting the area, and he thanked all the first responders for coming out to help and thanked the community for stepping up. He says people have already started cooking and bringing in food. The Red Cross is here now out at the kind of the media center over there, and he described the moment that the storm hit.
It was like 2 minutes of just craziness. It flipped our something over in the backyard. I thought the roof was going to come off the house. I mean, it was nuts. And then, of course, immediately that call came in that there was the trailer had flipped down there, the camper.
And there was actually a 5th person that was injured in another camper a little bit farther down on the track of the storm. As you heard Todd say, the path length was about 2 miles, 200 yards in width, and again, an EF-0 tornado with max winds of 85 miles per hour. Just for extra, like putting this into scope here, and EF-1 starts at 86 miles per hour. So it was right on the cusp. It was a very strong EF-0, almost an EF-1 tornado that came through here. So I know there's a lot of questions going on about why wasn't a warning issued for this storm. And to be clear, there was not a warning issued at the time that the storm came through this area. I spoke to both the National Weather Service office in Morristown and the National Weather Service office in Nashville to kind of break down how that happened. So right now what's going on is the National Weather Service office in Morristown is undergoing an upgrade to their computer systems. So they've actually been offline in the ability to issue products to the public since Tuesday. That's why the NOAA weather radios have been down so far this week. So Nashville has been handling the dissemination of those products for the Morristown coverage area. Today, when this storm came through, there were 2 radar operators with the National Weather Service in Morristown and 2 radar operators in the Nashville Weather Service office. So while the upgrade may have sounded from the outside like it would have been something that hindered their ability to issue the warning, there were actually more meteorologists tracking the weather today than would be on a normal shift. As you heard Anthony Cavalucci with the National Weather Service in Morristown say, this was a really sneaky storm. It was embedded within a line of storms. There wasn't a lot of lightning with it, but it was showing some bright velocities on the radar. However, this location where we're standing right now is almost 72 miles from the nearest radar location, which means that that radar is scanning about 5,800 feet up into the storm. We can have strong winds in that part of a storm all the time, and they don't always make it down to the surface. And given only the marginal instability for the day today, and basically saying that it didn't seem like a day where we would have storms like this going on, the National Weather Service at the time made the decision, as Todd was saying, you know, hindsight's 20/20 here. At the time, they didn't expect that the storm would have been able to produce a tornado like it ended up doing here down to the west of Sweetwater off of Holt Road. So unfortunately, this is just one of those, that was a B. That was just one of those situations where, unfortunately, that's just how it kind of worked out this time around with the National Weather Service offices. But it wasn't due to lack of staffing, and it was not due to the upgrade that was going on at the Morristown office. It just was a really sneaky storm today. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Sneaky, that's the word right there. All right, Cassie Nall joining us live near Sweetwater. Cassie, we do appreciate you. Of course, we'll be talking to you throughout the evening. With that, bringing it back here into the studio, Todd, it is not lost upon any of us that truly the last couple of weeks have been very, very intense as far as the weather goes. You guys have been putting in some hours covering tornadoes, strong storms, plenty of rain.
Yes.
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. What? And today's May 30th.
Exactly.
Tomorrow's the last day of May, and then we're going to turn to, wouldn't you know, I'll go ahead and tell you this. Wouldn't you know it, as we turn the corner into June, starting Sunday the next week, just like that, here come the 80s, the sunshine, the warm weather.
Hallelujah.
Meteorological summer. It looks like it's going to be right on cue.
And where we need to be as far as temperatures and rainfall and whatnot.
Exactly. So just to go ahead and tell you that up front, it looks like, ironically enough, but to your point, and to answer that question, Robin, this month of May, it's been very wet. We all know that. Here, we're hearing that a lot. Where's the sun? When's it going to dry out? And a lot of times you want a lot of good rain. I mean, it's been an incredible month of rainfall. Chattanooga is basically trying to work on their all-time wettest May on record. And records have been kept since about 1871. Yeah, and I'll be honest, I've been off today too. I have to go check that and see. I think they're close. And we got another day and a half to get that. Well, here in Knoxville, we're working on doubling our average May rainfall, which is 4.13, and we're 7-something right now, maybe close to 8. So it's been a very wet month. We've had now, counting today, this morning, 4 tornadoes in the last week and a half.
My goodness.
So just under 2 weeks, you know, going back to, of course, the London, Kentucky, then we had the Cumberland County south of Crossville, southern Cumberland County, Oliver Springs confirmed, and now today, 4 miles northwest of Sweetwater, just inside the Loudoun County line, along Holt Road. So that was the EF-0 confirmed. So 4 tornadoes, a very wet month. The pattern, you look at the pattern, and that's what's been causing this stagnant pattern of a lot of rain and storms. And when you get the warmer time of year, you get the higher sun angle, more sun is more fuel for the storms.
There you have it.
So, and you're getting these low pressure centers that are lifting the air, and you get these fronts, so you get these disturbances. So if you have the fuel, you got the heating, you know, right? You got the moisture from the Gulf, you're looking at this stagnant pattern that's been with us for much of the month of May. That's why it's been so wet, and that's why it's been exceptionally stormy, not just here, for a lot of areas in the southeast and even going back to the Plain States. But Robin, June is right around the corner, literally, and it looks like our pattern's going to be changing, just like that, just in a matter of days.
Bring on June. We all need it for sure. All right. Todd, as always, thank you for your insight. So appreciated. Thank you for watching. We will be back in just about 15 minutes or so with another update. And of course, we will be live on WBIR today at 4 o'clock on 10 About Town. Join us then.